Hello and welcome back to the Teach English in China YouTube channel. My name is Laura Alexander and today I'm going to talk to you about some things that I found helpful to learn and practice my Chinese. So that is why we are in front of the language learning wall. You might be able to see from there, maybe the characters are a little small. But when I learn new characters, I find it useful to write them down and see them throughout the day. So that is why I've chosen this background. So I'm going to talk about a few different things I've found useful. And please do comment below if you found anything useful that I haven't mentioned. But today I'm going to talk about Duolingo and how I use it. Duolingo is a language learning app if anyone hasn't heard of it. I'm going to talk about the benefits of textbooks, and I'm also going to talk about some other apps that I've used that I have found really helpful. So as I mentioned, Duolingo is a language learning app which you can download for free. There is a free or a premium version, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I downloaded Duolingo in the first lockdown and I spent about 4 hours a day on this app. So I would definitely highly recommend it. And I do think it's really improved my Chinese. So when you download Duolingo, you'll be able to select the Chinese course. And you'll see there are different stages along the way that you complete. And within different stages, there are different topics. So the topic could be greetings. The topic could be family or shopping, loads of different things. And when you've finished all of the individual topics and all of the bigger categories, in theory, you should be HSK 3 level. So for anyone that doesn't know, it goes HSK 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. HSK 6 means you are fluent in Chinese, and you can do exams so you can get certification for this. So in theory, you should be HSK 3 if you can retain all the information from the Duolingo Chinese course. So as you can see here, there is the different sections and different topics that I mentioned before. And the only difference between premium and the unpaid version is the amount of lives you get. So if you have the unpaid version, you have to wait 24 hours for your 5 lives to refill. So you can see here that goes to level 5 out of 5 and it says completed 25 out of 25 or 20 out of 20. So there's 5 different levels in each one, and for the ones that say 20 out of 20, then there's 4 different subtopics in each topic. So for each topic, for instance this one, I did 20 different sub-levels for that one topic, and you can see it changes throughout the different ones, the different amount you have to do, and you have to complete the checkpoints at each point, and when you get to the end it will say you have completed the course and should be HSK 3 level. So that's the basics of the app, but if you're anything like me, you'll find that using the app alone is not enough to retain the information, especially if you're wanting to learn how to draw the characters, which I imagine most people are. So what I do after I've learned a new topic is I write the pinyin and the characters in a book, and I read through them, and then I will copy out the characters over and over and over again until I feel confident that I can remember how to write them. And then I find it also useful after every few topics to go back through from the start of the words that I'm not 100% sure on, or the words that I might have forgotten how to write, and I will copy them out again and again and again. Eventually it will become muscle memory, and that task gets a lot quicker because you just know what you're writing. So the second way I find really useful to practice my Chinese is with textbooks. So here I have Chinese in Steps, Contemporary Chinese, and the New Practical Chinese Reader. So these 2 ones in particular are really user-friendly, very accessible. Chinese in Steps is from absolute beginner, and there's 10 chapters in here where it introduces new vocab and then shows you them in different contexts and points out some really important grammar rules. And Contemporary Chinese is a similar layout where it shows you new vocab, and then it shows it in conversation so you can get an idea of how the language is used. And then slightly harder is the new practical Chinese reader. This is, I think, for a bit more advanced, and it shows you the language used in different contexts, so letters or conversations, and it definitely moves at a quicker pace, but is a really useful resource. So when I learn new vocab in textbooks, I do exactly the same as what I would do when I learn new vocab on Duolingo. I copy it out over and over again until I feel confident with it. And in the textbooks as well, I can read through the conversations or the letters and see the new vocab in use. And it's also really good because it keeps you practicing the old vocab. So similar to textbooks, another great resource is to have a Mandarin dictionary. So I actually use mine, obviously just for checking up words that I'm not quite sure on. Maybe you've seen something in a TV show, maybe you've seen an unfamiliar character in your textbook. It's a great way to find some things you're not quite sure about. But it's also really good to just label things around the house to get some new vocab. Maybe you label things around your room, around the kitchen. You just write the pinyin and the characters underneath, and you'll soon find that you just internalize it without really even thinking. And lastly, as I mentioned, there are also some other apps that can be really useful for practicing your Chinese. Similar to the dictionary, I would recommend Line Dictionary, which is just a dictionary you can use on your phone. It's really accurate, and it also tells you the stroke order for the characters you're supposed to be writing. For anyone that doesn't know, stroke order when writing Chinese characters is actually very important. It sounds very daunting, but you'll find actually once you know a few of the rules, it just comes to you naturally. But Line Dictionary is really good to tell you the order, and it can also give examples of the word you've found in context, just like an actual dictionary, but it's on your phone, and it is much more reliable than Google Translate if you're looking up a singular word. So another app I found really useful is called Hello Talk. So, as I mentioned some other apps before, Line Dictionary and Duolingo, and even with the textbooks, I found that my written Chinese was really improving and I could read Chinese a lot better. And I felt quite confident in these fields. I could hear it pronounced as well on Duolingo. It reads things out to you. I could check pronunciations on Line Dictionary. But I didn't really have the chance to improve my spoken Chinese. So this Hello Talk app is where this becomes a lot easier. So when you open the app, you can type that you're learning Chinese, and it will show you loads of native Chinese speakers or people that are fluent in Chinese that are wanting to learn English. So you're paired with a language partner. You can choose who you want to speak to, and you can send messages as well as voice note. And the voice noting is where it's really useful because you can hear native Chinese and you can practice your Chinese pronunciation. And as I said, this is an opportunity you don't really get with the other resources. But the other resources are really important because they act as the building blocks. They tell you the characters you need to know. They tell you the meaning of the words. So this is great when you get to a level where you're quite confident with reading and writing basic Chinese. So often how it works is you will speak in Chinese to them and they will speak in English to you, and they can correct you and they can tell you, what you need to improve on. And from my experience, it is a very safe app to use. They do have quite strict regulations to make sure it's all appropriate and above board. And it's just a really great way to learn more about the culture as well, because although they'll be speaking in English, they might be speaking about their life in China. And a great chance for you to share some of your experiences whilst also practicing Chinese. So I really hope you guys can use some of my tips and that you've found some of the apps useful that I've mentioned. Please do comment below if you've got any techniques that I haven't mentioned that you find really useful. Obviously, everyone works a little bit differently and has different techniques for learning languages. But I found if you're willing to put the time in, the apps I've been using and the textbooks I've mentioned have been really useful in increasing my confidence and my ability to write, speak and read Chinese. So I hope that's been helpful, and as I said, please do share any tips because I could definitely use them too. Thank you and bye bye. 谢谢，再见。